G'day, citizens. Welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by Lokenplays. How you doing, buddy?
I'm not doing badly, buddy. How about you? You all right?
Well, we've just had 1 hour of loading images. It was spectacular fun. Best way to kick off
Yeah.
Invictus.
Yeah, the pure Invictus experience. The images and everything, the website doesn't load for an hour.
Yes.
Just fantastic.
Yes. Well, it's almost like on T. It's like we're literally started recording at 3 a.m. So it's literally an hour on the dot. So yeah. But I managed to get there eventually and load all the images. So we'll kick it straight across and straight on to RSI for the first one.
Indeed.
So the Zeuses, I guess, is where we'll kind of kick this off. We're on the MR. Oh, sorry, we're on the MR. Your thoughts on the MR, I guess. Or do you want to start on the ES? Wait, what is it? ES? No, we'll start on the MR.
We'll start on the MR. We'll just work our way through.
Yeah.
So Zeus MR, the Zeus series in general, I'm really looking forward to as a ship in general. I like the design language. I like the way that they I like what they represent in terms of ship size. So I think the MR is going to be a very interesting candidate. It's going to be very interesting to see how it performs though with the new master modes, because obviously master modes have changed up everything. So, and this being the combat skew one, I am curious to see where it ends up laying in the land. But I still think it's a really freaking cool ship. So I'm really excited for those, and they've been slated for 4.0 now, haven't they?
Yeah, CitizenCon roughly, which is what the spirit was the year before. I think for me, it's the few unknown things about the ship, because it seems like from our deep dive into the medium ship category that we did when this thing came out, this seems like it's going to be the armored one, or the the kind of turtle. So I don't think it's going to quite fly as well as the others, but I'd love to be wrong. But it also doesn't really have a base variant, and this is when I talk about all Zeuses here, but I kind of think, like, if I was going to buy one, this is the one that I'd probably buy.
Yeah, I can see that. The other two, there are other ships that do something very similar to it already that exists, but the Zeus MR is kind of, I don't necessarily say unique, but it's in a very small category, It's quite combat focused, it's got the bounty hunting capabilities, it's got the it's not an interdiction field, isn't it? It's the snaring field. No, it's an interdiction. It keeps people there, not snares them out of quantum, but it will stop them from getting into quantum. So it's got a lot of toys on it. It's quite a nice piece of kit.
And it's kind of like where you kind of got like a cutlass fit that's kind of really designed for 2 people, and at the kind of low tech end, the RSI is more at the high tech end and kind of for 3 people. So I can see why it's priced where it is. Not that I agree with pricing a lot of the time, but if someone picked this one up, I'm not going to like rant and rave at them and say
no, exactly.
So yeah. All right, next one is the Apollo, and I think we can probably do these two at the same time.
Yeah, we'll do both of them. Hollows, the much beloved and very much lamented ships that haven't come out yet, and still people beg for this thing to come out every single time in chat. It's like, where's the Apollo coming out? I don't know. We gotta wait for a bit more longer. Well, I like these. These things are cool.
The last thing we heard was an ISC at the end of last year where it went into grey box. So you gotta assume it's probably CitizenCon, yeah?
I mean, I would hope so. I mean, I just think it's still waiting on drone tech before they'll launch it.
You reckon it's the drone tech, really? See, how can I have gone back on this? I do think this is the one that's going to bring drones into the game, because it's got a simpler drone than, say, the Reclaimer or the Vulcan. But really, can't you put it in with just the beds? And now modularity's in.
Precisely. I think the major of the two aspects that was keeping it off the shelves was modularity, but we now have modularity with the Retaliator Gold Pass, and that's now in the game. So there's very little on the shelf now to stop this from coming out, and I think so many people want it, and so much of the functionality, it'll be about, I'd say about 85%, 90% functional without the drones. Maybe now is the time just to say, okay, let's get this out in the hands of the people, and when drones come in, whenever that might be, then we'll see them. But they are gorgeous ships. They're a lot bigger than you expect to. So I'm really looking forward to these.
Smallest large ship, essentially. You kind of nailed it in one. For me, the $25 between the two is essentially it's a couple extra missile hardpoints and armor. So essentially the way I look at it, you correct me if you think I'm wrong, this one of them is designed to be more versatile and actually it can go into close range if it has to. The other one's just going to sit back and do the medical stuff.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. One's definitely designed to get in there and get a few shots on it, and just get people out, or be a forward operating field hospital, you know, whilst the other one is more civilian spec, you know, it's going to be one that you will still use it for, like, I don't know, relief efforts or whatever you may need it for. So yeah.
And
although $25 for the two, I'd just go for the $25 and get the up armored one personally.
Well, again, if it's your only ship, I could see you questioning $25. The other thing is there will be that drawback to armor. It will make your ship a little heavier. So there are pros and cons to both. So, you know, I'm not going to grill someone on which one they get, but yeah, like you, if with the amount of money I've already invested in the game, $25 is nothing in that regard. But if you're saving your pennies, I can understand. The Aurora, now, that's the one thing I didn't load, Loken. There was 2 packs today, wasn't there? There was because one of the new skins, I can probably pick over to that and we can talk on that, was the only new skin today is this Invictus Aurora one, and there was 2 packs. There was an Avenger one, and I forgot the price of the Aurora one, but the Avenger was like $56.75, like 25% off.
The Aurora was 38 something, I think. I don't know. It was about 10% off anyway from the norm, and 120 months of insurance on it, the Invictus paint scheme.
Yeah, there we go. So it did load. I was worried it wasn't going to load. There you go. 10% off on the Aurora, which and how much insurance did you say it was on it?
120 months. So
it's not too bad. That's
not too shabby.
That's 10 years. So that's No, wait, 120 months. No, it's not.
I think that is 10 years, isn't it?
No, it is 10 years. Yeah, sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
My math is off. Yeah, so that's not too shabby. And again, $40.
I mean, that's what I get. If I was starting the game right now, you know, and I don't want to spend anything, you know, I don't want to put the huge investment in, then yeah, $40 for a fairly decked out ship that's got good LTI, well, LTI, but the closest thing you're going to get to LTI, it's pretty decent, you know, it's pretty decent.
It puts the game at $5.50. So Stars doesn't download. So that's pretty good.
Can't really argue with the economy, can you? I mean, that's a pretty good way of getting started. And the Aurora is always the more useful of the 2 starters, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, again, you've only really got to get yourself in the door, don't you? So yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The Connie series. Now we can probably smash these 4 together. I think
we can start,
but because this took so long to get recorded, the Phoenix is gone. Good luck. Thanks for coming.
Indeed. They'll have a couple more sales, but they're time limited options. So
that's gone up by $10. That was $190, wasn't it? It's gone up by 10. So there's a nice little one. Everything
else is pretty much business as usual.
Yep. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is one of those especially the Andromeda, right? Because it's got Chris's name on it. If this is not one of the best ships in the entire game by the time everything is all said and done, I'll eat my hat.
100%. Yeah, it's his favorite damn ship almost, isn't it?
It is his favorite, and he said that since the beginning. It obviously needs a lot of kind of reworks things and updated things. Like it needs that gold pass, and it'll get it. You know, too many struts, that type of thing. It's got its issues, but it's also
it will end up being a very good ship. And it just needs the love and the time for these teams to just bring it up to the standard. It shows its age every single area of the ship right now. But again, it will. CIG has proven that they are very good at doing these gold passes and bringing things up to snuff. So Andromeda will look. The whole Constellation series will look and feel brilliant once it's done. And they are good ships and they're good size, you know. So.
Aquila kind of gives up some of the guns because it is a generalist gunship is what it lists it as, but basically the Aquila kind of gives up the guns for science, and again we just don't have enough science knowledge about what science is going to be. I think this ship again will have a kind of renaissance once we know more about science. In my book. And exploration, a bit of that too. The Phoenix, for me, I think there's better luxury ships, just put it that way, but it's sold out. So there's obviously people there that really like it.
People really like the Phoenix, and I think the Phoenix has a bit of a cult status in the community. I mean, obviously it's also the set for inside Star Citizen and all that business, which kind of helps in a way. I like the Phoenix if it just really pushed into the private jet vibe rather than this kind of pseudo private jets / private yacht thing that's got going on at the moment. If they really pushed into that private jet vibe, I think it'll look really freaking cool, and I'd like it. But as it stands currently, it's a bit. And I've always felt the layout was a bit odd.
cramped?
It's cramped for such a large space, you know, that somehow they've made a very large space feel very small. But again, it was built in a different time, and CIG are masters now of squeezing a lot into a very small space. We'll see that later with the Ursa. So,
so I'll run this by. I ran it by our grid because like he complains about the ship to no end, right? And I said to him, how would you feel if they gave it the Buccaneer treatment? And what I mean by that is, if you remember, the Cutlass is where the Buccaneer came off the people that wanted a more combat focused ship. What if they broke the Phoenix off and made it its own ship? So it's no longer a constellation; it's its own thing.
It's an interesting conundrum, actually. I mean, it is enough of a different ship to where it could do that. You know, it's very different in comparison to all of its brethren. You know, so I could see it being its own special project. You know, we took the bare bones of constellation, but brought it into this new thing. The Phoenix, you know, so I can see that working. And it
really leans into the name, does it not? To rise from the ashes type thing. So they take a Connie and like heavily modify it to the point that it becomes almost a completely. Well, you know what they did with the Firebird and the Raven, how it's like essentially they start with it and then 3D modeled it all differently. Well, I think that's kind of what this needs. It needs a massive.
I think it would help a lot and allow them to have a bit more freedom to give it a more sleek design or a concept that suits its overall intention of being luxury more, you know, rather than what it looks like now, which is a quite utilitarian ship that's been given a few trappings of luxury.
Kind of not surprised the Taurus went up by $10 as well, because for its price, like. But here's the thing, though. Now it's only $40 different from the Aquila, not the Aquila, so the Andromeda. The Andromeda actually, in my personal opinion, is the best variant. It's not as tangible.
I'd have to agree.
It's not as tangible now because you're just not getting as many facilities as you used to get. But I think the reason they've probably increased it by $10, I reckon they've sold a lot of these, especially with the tractor beams and stuff like that. So I reckon that's probably why it's crept up a bit.
It's a very, very useful mid-sized hauler. You know, it's got a lot of cargo capacity. It's still pretty decently armed for its size, you know, shielded and whatnot, and it's a good overall vessel. So yeah, I'm not surprised they've sold well. It is surprising that they're bringing up the price, you know, a little bit. I will be honest, I don't think that was necessary. $190 was already a fairly tall asking price for the ship, but you know, I guess that's what they've decided to do.
$150 originally, and so now
$150 originally.
$90 gap, and now only a $40 gap. So
yeah, it used to be a bargain. Then it put it up to $190, which I thought, okay, fair enough. You've kind of got your max here, you know, out of the vessel, but. I don't know.
And these are not cross-pollinated variants, so you can't like take a Taurus and turn it into Aquila either. They're essentially standalone.
Their own separate things.
Yeah. If it was that way, I could kind of get behind it because then you could be a bit more modular. But no.
Yeah.
Right, the links.
The links.
Now this is looking even more worse today once the Medivacs dropped because the Medivac's the same price. So
I like my links in terms of I like the vehicle, but I think as we've both agreed many times on these shows, don't buy a in-game vehicle unless it has LTI because it's not worth it.
Yeah, essentially an LTI token, and I'm in 100% agreement on that one. Right, the Mantis. This is really kind of had a bit of a renaissance with the way piracy has kind of gone. It's a big favorite of pirates, and it's really weird in that regard because RSI is not like a pirate manufacturer.
Something like this.
Well, Agrid's kind of been going with the idea in the last couple of days of a Buccaneer Mantis. I think he's got some merit there. We'll see.
I could see that. happening.
Yeah. So, you know, if you're into piracy, and with the way the new flight model's going, QED is going to be not being able to allow people to go into nav mode is quite strong.
It's a very strong thing to do. The Mantis has got a real buff just by that alone, you know. I don't know how it ended up tuning wise as well, but it probably ended up better than it did before. The Mantis always was kind of like this. I always thought it was more of a law or police enforcement vehicle, you know, where you can keep a ship ensnared whilst your team boards it for contraband or whatever. But it's a favorite of pirates and anyone who PvPs or ganks people, you know.
It's like a combat space utility. I don't know how to kind of phrase it because it's not combat because it's really undergun.
No,
but it's just so damn useful at supporting and holding people there so the other ships can do its job.
It's a support utility tool, isn't it? That's what it is. It's a support vessel through and through, and it does its job extremely well.
The Perseus, the ship I love to hate. I love this ship, right? But it's way too expensive at what it is. Both Argo and I got ours for around about $300 at that price. I think that's what it's worth. And if you look at the size of the ship, that's basically how it is.
Well, it looks bigger than it is because it has this sort of battleship vibe and design language. But in actuality, it's Corvette size. It's about the same size as a Hammerhead, isn't it? Give or take.
Yes, it is
smaller.
Oh, yeah. But it's actually slightly smaller than a Starfarer. Right, and a Starfarer is $340, and I would, the fact that it's combat though, I can see the price probably going to $400 at most. But the fact that that's only $75 behind a Polaris is kind of laughable.
Yeah, it's like, guys, real talk, unless you are absolutely dead set on this sort of smaller sub-cap capable vessel, the Polaris, because you're not that far off at that point. It is an interesting price point. I love the ship, though. I genuinely do. But yeah, you're right. The price point's a little dear.
Well, the other thing is now 6 crew for both.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so the minimum crew on this guy now is 6. And there's also an offer on the Polaris today. And if I go over to here, I had it queued up somewhere. Hang on. It's now 50. Well, you can get an offer for $50 cheaper if you buy it with War Bond.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. That's cool if you're going to put into your chains. But again, it just shows you kind of how badly priced the Perseus is, because for $25 more, you can get a Polaris today. So
it's a little wild where it's at. Yeah,
it's kind of crazy. So if you can get the Perseus discounted with a series of change of war bonds, go nuts. And if it's something you really love, go nuts. But just value-wise, it's really hard. And obviously, the Polaris will be in game today. Are you going to be streaming later? Because I think that's something that
I most certainly am.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it yet, it's rather impressive.
So, I've been doing myself like the biggest favor I can, because I've done so many Invictuses. Nothing's new apart from the new stuff. So I've actually not gone on BTU or looked at anything. So I want the naked experience. I'm really looking forward to seeing that thing in person, because I have one and I really want to see what she looks like.
Yeah. I think the thing I'll say, and I know you'll notice it, but I'm just saying to this and trying to apply this to other ships down the line, is just how much more surface work they've done on it. So it's got way more greebles and stuff. And if you think about that from I know you did development as well, so you'll be able to see this. They can take that back to other ships. So when you look at the Javelin or the Idris, and they're kind of a bit more bare bones, and they relied more on texturing and normal mapping, they've now got more 3D on the outside. So hopefully when they go back and do the gold passes on these older ships, they're going to get that same treatment. And I just it's like, how can you take the ships to the next level? And it's kind of
100%.
It's kind of
they'll created their own toolkits, this kind of like design language toolkit, both from a visual standpoint, but also to have the actual physically modeled the greebles, as you say, so they can just take those aspects of, well, this is an RSIE bit, we'll put that there, it looks good, and they obviously also feel more confident in their engine tech, because generally speaking, you use a lot of built-in baked visuals on texture maps if you don't have a lot of performance, but putting it actually as 3D visual on the ship rendered in engine in real time rather than it being textures, I mean that stands to reason that they're quite confident where they're going with their engine and how much they can kind of push the graphical fidelity.
It's kind of
all good as far as I'm concerned.
It's kind of scary to where it's going to get to when we get more of these big ones. All right, we can probably bundle these two together as well.
The Scorps, and
the
240 and 230.
I'm more and more I'm starting to see a place for this thing. I like the Mantis where it's undergun. This is that middle ground where it can hold things, but it can't pull things out like the Mantis. So there is a place for this, and more and more I'm coming around to. It's just the fact that there's a whole second person there. If you could just remove the second person and just control everything with the one person, this ship would be great.
I kind of agree. It's the most boring second seat role in the entirety of SC right now. Just, you sit there and you press a button. That's it. So, I think the second person's kind of superfluous requirement.
You remind me of that, what's that movie? And the monkey flicks the switch. Yeah. I'm Lost in Space.
Indeed.
But what about price? Because price is one I struggle with. Like, considering for $10 you can get a Corsair type of thing. Like, it's just like night and day.
It depends on what you're looking for, though, in your combat experience, doesn't it? The Corsair's great, but it's multi-crew. It's basically going to be designed around that, whereas Scorpius is high-end, heavy fighter. You know, so it's going to be experiences really and what you're looking for more than anything else. It's definitely not going to be somebody's first ship. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
You know,
it's not as good as, I mean, not as good value is what I'm getting at, really.
No, yeah, for sure. But in terms of pure value proposition, yes, it's very expensive for what it is. But you know, it is at least until Master Modes, it was quite a well put, high performing piece of kit. I think it's having a few trouble bits and pieces of difficulties right now, but I'm sure that'll get balanced out in time. Yeah, it's a lot of money, but they are bloody nice ships, and if you are interested in combat and doing fights combat, you will find a place for them. I'm fairly sure you can justify the cost.
Kind of got that cool X-wing factor too that's hard to pass up as well. So yeah,
and then they fold up pretty small, so they can fit in a lot of stuff. So you know,
the Ursa, still, I'm going to be honest with you, almost all the vehicles in the game, this is probably still the best one in my opinion. It just does. It's just that generalist that does so much.
She's a utilitarian van in space, and I love her.
Yeah.
It fits in so many different ships too, and it's just a useful piece of kit. Carries another number of people. Yeah, the Ursa is great. Obviously, again, grab it in game. Don't grab it here unless you've got an LTI for it. But yeah, it's a good piece of kit, and I do like the Ursa a lot.
Yeah,
a lot of love for it.
Absolutely agree on that. Vehicles are just a kind of a no-go. And then we come to the highlight of today.
Indeed.
Right at the end, the Ursa Medac. I don't like, and I said this kind of a couple of times this week, but it's not this ship itself, and we will do a buyer's guide on this one, obviously, but it's just the utility it gives to everything else that it can go inside.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, almost any mid-sized ship larger, you know, you're going to now be able to have a tier 3 medical bed on board your vessel, easy. You know?
Yeah, and kind of unlike say the Pisces C8R or the Cuddy Red, you can hide it. So you can put it in something else, and it's harder to detect. And plus, with the bunkers and stuff, and you can go underground. Oh, by the way, it's got a very funny commercial. I think I told you that before, but yeah.
I saw it actually whilst we were waiting. Yeah, it's quite good. Yeah, although a lot of people say now, oh no, SC's a roguelite. It's like, oh god.
I can see where they're going. All right. The only other thing I think if we talk about just cut over to that for a little bit. Hold on, I got to find the right one. Ursa. So, yeah, I think we've kind of gone through most of this. I think the only other thing would be skins. Nothing too really fancy. Black, maroon, white, and blue and teal. That's about it, really. And the other skins from the Ursa, and I don't know if they'll... Yeah, and I think the Lynx works as well. So that's about it, really, isn't it?
I think so pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So, Origin, you wouldn't think really much combat, but there is actually a couple of things from them. So, I think I'll start at the low end, which would be, we'll start on this one. Yep. So, there's only the 3. So, 325A, what's your thoughts on that? Because I find this a real Origin outlier, personally. Combat is not traditionally, in my opinion...
I've never understood the Origin aspect of combat. It never seemed like the thing they were doing. I understand that, lore-wise, they provide engines for cap ships, but... You know, them making their own fighters seems a bit odd. However, they do exist, and 325A, I mean, I haven't had much trigger time with it, personally, so I don't really know what it's like these days.
Where's my 425A? Where's my 625A?
Honestly, a 425A, I'll be interested in that. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
That'll be badass, but, I mean, I like the 300 series, and they're nice ships. I prefer is it a 315P, the one that gives the tractor on the front of it?
Yeah,
that's a pretty useful one with the 10 STU cargo. Yeah,
that and the Avenger are probably the 2 advanced starters, the best 2. Saulian I'd probably chuck in there too now.
It's $70. I mean, it's a lot of money, you know, to ask for it. It's got a bit of utility though, so I guess it has that going for it.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be a bit fragile in combat if that's, you know, what you're buying it for. There are better options that aren't that much more expensive. I mean, you know, you'll see later on in the week, you know, the Arrow and then also the Gladius as well. They're similar, the price points. Obviously not today, but
no.
So I don't know.
100%. They're just better combat options out there. And with bed logging waning, it just kind of makes this look like a worse option, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So not one that I'd highly recommend. You know, again, a luxury thing has to really speak to you. And luxury combat, they kind of conflict a little bit, but
just slightly,
G25A, I think G12. Sorry, I said G25A. G12A. Realistic, it should be the G25A now I think about it. But anyway, So again, I'd only be getting the normal G12, but it's like you've been saying with all the vehicles today, they're earning game.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be dependent entirely on what it ends up looking like. This has been in concept for a long time now, and I'm sure it will change because it feels a little, if it's going to be a born for battle, it seems a little undergone with only 4 missiles.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I don't know. It's a very weird place for it to be.
Well, also sitting right next to it, you've got the Cyclone variant that does almost exactly the same thing. So it's just like, it's just not of a different. They just tread on each other way too much.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I would have if this was a mortar variant or something like that, that would have been way cooler personally. So
yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. 125A. See if they'd all been 25, it would have made more sense to me. But anyway,
yeah, it would have been.
Yeah. This is the same thing, but again, it's only $10 behind the 325A. So bite the bullet and get the 325A. And at that point, it's like you said, bite the bullet and get 315p. Because it's
yeah. Although that says and done, this thing did come out smelling like roses in the master modes. It is got the interceptor tuning, so it is rapid, and I mean it's 1,400 meters per second rapid. So it does have that going for it. I was very surprised when I got behind the stick of one the other day, and I was like, "What? Why is this so quick?"
So it might be a good little A to B vehicle. Is that what you're kind of saying? Like as
I'm saying, it may very well be. Yeah, a little runabout, something on those lines. With a few extra guns in it, so it can, in a pinch, maybe defend itself. But it wouldn't be something I'll be using to lead the charge. Or to actually intercept vehicles. I wouldn't want to intercept something with a 125A. I think you'll explode pretty quickly. But yeah, it's really, really, really quick. That's the point, and so it could actually be quite a nice runabout. They are well designed inside as well, so they'd have that going for them.
Yeah, luxury,
expensive.
Yeah, luxury starter, but yeah. It's crazy to think that costs the same price as a Medac though, or a Lynx.
Yeah,
kind of crazy where vehicles have got to. Right, the only consolidated Outland one, the Delta. This is one we
Delta.
Only see this thing twice a year. I think the thing that this really suffers from now, unfortunately, is the dumbfires. There is just not enough of them to kind of warrant the dumbfire nature of it.
I know people who love the dumbfire, like laud it. It's a nice little toy, but I don't actually see its use a lot.
I think it'll come back around again when we have ground-based installation stuff. So, for example,
you might be right, yeah.
Say there's a turret or a shield generator or something like that, something that's not going to move, and it's cheap. You can send this in. Like, why send in a retaliator bomber that can get shot down when you can send this in?
Yeah, it's true.
It's a little cheaper, more expendable. You could send 5 of these into one retaliator if you get my whole point, right? So.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So yeah, again, I think it might have a heyday down the road, as long as it's got its place. Every ship seems to have its place, and as long as this gets one, it's how much they get trod on at the end of the day by other things next to it. So yeah,
precisely.
Right, and I think we are down to the last one, which is the Argo. This is essentially only 2 ships. So we've got the SRV and the MPUV. So I think we'll do the SRV first.
Yeah, let's do the SRV.
So for me, it's also gone up in price by 15 bucks. Well, it was 150. It's now 165. Or am I?
Oh, okay.
Or am I thinking of concept price and not forgetting release price? I can't remember.
I think it might be concept price. I'm not entirely sure. I can't quote. Don't quote me on that, but it seems to be around the right price. I remember it being so.
So it's one of the cheaper advanced starters, but considering the Prospector, right, is cheaper than this. Considering a Vulture is $10 more than this, you would have to be into dragging other ships around. And let's be honest, there's not a lot of functionality to really do that at the moment compared to what there will be down the line. I just don't. Now it's not the best purchase. When you also consider the Crucible will have the towing ability as well and the repair functionality, it's just not the best choice in that field, in my book.
I can see where you're coming from. I don't know. It's one of those ones where it's a nice tool, and I do like it. Ultimately, I think it's a really well designed ship, and the interior feels great. But there is very little for it to do right now, other than be a useful tool. I'm hoping in the future there will be reasons to have a tow truck, because that's what it is. It's a tow truck, you know. But for right now, 165 is a tall asking price for what hasn't got a lot of gameplay at the moment.
Yeah, for me, it's an earning game. I think that was.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I like it. I love the industrial nature. It just doesn't do enough especially right now.
I'm a massive Argo fan. I like the SRV. It's we're looking at it from a value proposition and gameplay proposition. It's just like right now, maybe not something to aim for in game if you want to grab one.
Yeah, especially when the Crucible's not quite double, but like just does so much extra. Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see on that one. All right, we can pretty much smash these three MPUVs together, but this is the new one, the Tractor Beam. If you've seen anyone playing with this, and I was saying to Loken, I said, you need to pull it out on stream and have a play with this. It looks so cool watching someone stack the cargo onto themselves kind of upside down.
Yeah.
And I was saying to you, it would be so cool to have a longer, bigger version of this, and you could just have all these people like throwing boxes up and stacking them up onto the belly. So I hope this is a design we see repeated with Argo at a later date, with a bigger vet.
Well, don't we have the raft that basically does that, don't we?
Yeah, that's only got the 3. It doesn't do individual boxes. Like I'm talking something that's like essentially how you've got like the cargo areas, but you flip it upside down.
Yes, I get you.
Like just literally a bigger version of this, I reckon would sell fairly well. As just a cargo transport platform. And you could almost see it land on top of the cargo, pick most of it up, fly off. Like it would look really cool too. So
it's a little worker bee, isn't it? That's what the MPUV's always been. These little again, I hate to use the word tool, but it's a tool. You know, it's a useful piece of gear. It's like a little worker bee from Star Trek or a forklift or something. And you know, I like them a lot. I am interested as to the reason why they decided to make it a variant rather than just give it full modularity, because it feels like this should just be a module aspect to it.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with you on that one, and I hope, I hope down the line you can take any variant and swap it to the other variant in game. That would be.
I'm hoping so. Yeah. That'll be nice.
So I've got a referral one. So
I've got a couple of myself. So
yeah, I think the only.
But I like them. I think they're cool.
The only other thing that we can kind of go over here, it is one of the few ships that does actually have 2 tractor beams, especially for its size, which is kind of cool.
This is true, yeah.
It did have some cool little skins come in. So we've got a concierge red one, and they also added a yellow and a black one, or I guess you could call it they call it storm grey or
sort of grayish black, yeah.
So it's good to see that they've actually gone back and put some skins out, which is what I was really surprised they didn't do that when they dropped the blue one. It's taken them 2 years to make 3 skins for this thing. That's kind of mind-blowing to me. So
it is a bit, yeah.
I think the only other thing, we went over the ship, the Warbond upgrade to the Polaris. So you're saving 50. That's not good as previous ones, because previous ones were bigger than that from my memory. The Aurora skin and the other Invictus skins will come available day by day, but I think that is it, man. That is everything.
I think that's pretty much a wrap on day one, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see so many manufacturers kind of chucked in together, but I think that's a part of Invictus. Like, there's just
I think so.
1 or 2. Well, like Origin had 3, Argo had 2, and Consolidated.
That makes sense.
1.
You know, when you're focusing on just solely combat, there are some manufacturers that have very little. So you know, they'll sort of have space on the show floor for the big show. And today, obviously, RSI was the mainstay. Big announcement, you know. So
is there anything you want to hear from people below in the comments, Loken?
I think I'd love to hear what people think about the change of the master modes and how that will change their purchasing decisions moving forward. You know, because there are a lot of combat ships. Combat, obviously, a big part of master modes. So you know, does that make you change your mind on these ships? Do you now feel that the value proposition in the ship that was there before, because it performed so well, is no longer there now? I'd love to hear what people have to say on that.
I think for me it'd be just, did you pick up a 1T, an Argo 1T, or a Medac?
That's a good question, yeah.
Yeah, because again, for me, I'm probably going to wait on both of them and get them in game personally.
That's fair. I've personally picked myself up a Medac because I do a lot of ground combat stuff on stream, so I can the usefulness is just absolutely there. Plus LTI, so
that's true. Good LTI.
I haven't broken my rule.
Yeah, well, we're still got the pulse as well. Don't forget that'll be the LTI token for this sale. That's for sure.
Absolutely,
so,
yeah.
All right, where can people find you on the interwebs, Loken?
So you can find me at twitch.tv/Lokenplays. I'm live there 5 days a week on Twitch, doing predominantly Star Citizen streaming, and I will probably do some YouTube stuff at some point during this summer break. Now I actually have some time to think about it, which is nice.
When they let him out with some free time. All right.
Oh gosh, indeed.
All right, then. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And thank you to everyone that went extra mail on Patreon at the end of the video. He's been Loken. Well, I was waiting for you to do what Argo does, but he didn't. All right, I've been, you know, because I do that and then he does that. But anyway. Right,
sorry.
No. I didn't know if you were gonna do it or not. I was just like, I'll just see if he does. Anyway, I've been Execute. We'll see you later, citizens. Bye.